Wheelchair rugby is essentially a high-speed chess. I'm Zion Redington. I'm 17 years old. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, and I play USA Wheelchair Rugby. I was born in China.
Zion was born with ectrodactyly. Basically, he was born with one finger on each hand and one pinky toe on each foot. We already adopted 2 other children at that point and kind of knew that there was another kiddo out there for us. And I saw a waiting child list and I saw this little guy, just this picture of him at 2 months old. And he had just his one little finger up here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it was totally love at first sight. The adoption process literally only took 6 months, which is a total miracle. Zion was considered a medical adoption, a special needs adoption. And so through just amazing Christian organizations, we were able to get like every penny to help us bring him home. You know, when he was just a little guy, he was just always kind of at my hip. You know, he was very connected to me. And I'm really fortunate because it's not always like that with adoption. The orphanage doctor basically said there was always a light upon him. And I think that light just shines in him still to this day. He's just this great young man, just has, you know, a huge purpose in this life. He was walking, eating with a spoon and, you know, functioning, you know, pretty well. I remember the orthopedic doctor said something like, he kind of covered his foot and said, well, you could amputate. And I just thought, well, you know, like, who are you to say that? You know, why would we amputate if he can do everything? And at the age of 5 and 6, he kept on breaking that little toe. You know, I kind of talked to Zion at that point and we talked about amputation and what that might look like.
Amputation just essentially means cut off. That was the big surgery at 6 years old. Lots of tears, lots of crying, mostly from pain. I mean, when you have an amputation, you will have phantom pains. Around 6 years old, I would have been in kindergarten. I'd missed actually a lot of that year because of my amputation. It was kind of a mix between support and then bullying. Once you grow older, you realize that it could have been worse.
It was the right decision. It really was. With prosthetics nowadays, if you could have a little more ankle movement, it would be great, or maybe prosthetics with feeling so he could know if he stepped on something. But otherwise, you know, prosthetics and amputation really opened his world to adaptive sports.
My first sport was wheelchair basketball that I joined when I was about 7, 8 years old. And that was the first sport my mom had pushed me into.
Zion would probably say that I forced him into sports. I really just started throwing him into literally track and field, swimming, archery, climbing.
There's not too many other sports that I truly enjoyed. I very soon realized that I like the indoor sports rather than outdoor sports like track and field, where it gets really, really hot, and I don't do hot.
Basically, my goal was to open up every door possible for him. And at the age of 12 or 13, that he could choose at that point what he wanted to focus on.
And then about a year and a half later, at a basketball tournament, wheelchair basketball tournament, I found wheelchair rugby. It wasn't a sport that I originally had loved. It was a sport that I'd kind of grown to hate it just because I didn't want to be with a bunch of 40-year-olds.
They were older than me, most of the players. It was painful to take him to practice sometimes. Coming to Lakeshore was really the pivotal time in his decision to play rugby, because it was more like, yeah, you know, like they had a lot younger players. They had more athletic players. They had the facility itself is a Paralympic and Olympic training center. So, you know, they just had everything there.
Just naturally, as I was aging, I would naturally get stronger, faster. So I was able to gradually get up to a point where I had made the USA development team. And that had propelled me into really wanting to train, really work hard for this, and really make it my goal to be on a Paralympic team. It's really where I started to have a love for rugby, right around when I had made the development team. And then about a year later, I had made the national team.
He loved the crashing. He thought it was so cool to, like, you know, hit someone else in a chair. And it's like a Mad Max. And that's when Zion was like, yeah, this is cool. He enjoyed playing and driving 3 hours there and 3 hours back.
Only being in Birmingham for about 3 hours and then driving another 3 hours all the way back. It was a stressful time, but our family had grown together.
One of the things that we've laughed about as a couple is that most of our travel in the 8 years that we've been married has been around science athletic competitions.
Our family had understood each other a little bit better each time we had to do something like this, even to the point of wanting to support me so much that we ended up moving to Birmingham. And it's helped me grow so much within the sport of being able to get into a physical shape, knowing and being able to become more confident within how I'm able to push and all these other aspects of the sport.
And then once we decided to move, Zion made the development team at 15. And 2023, he made the USA team. So he got to travel to Paris and Santiago, Chile, where they brought home gold, qualified for the Paralympics last year. He made the 2024 USA team. And then he made the cut to travel and be a Paralympian for 2024 Paris.
It was essentially a Zoom call saying whether you made the team or whether you didn't. And I was really nervous. I had specifically told my mom, if I make it or don't make it, please don't have a reaction because I want to be able to process it first. And so I was then told I had made the team. And of course, she went above and beyond not having a reaction to having the biggest reaction I could think of, popping little confetti cannons over me.
When we look at the photographs on the wall in our home, we're reminded of the journey that we've been on together. So we feel it. We feel the weight of Zion headed to Paris, but we're proud of him and we're grateful for the way that he has dived in himself to become a member of Team USA.
What makes a good wheelchair rugby player? It's essentially the building blocks is your brain, how smart and how well you can play the sport.
Zion's brain, he thinks and processes. He started figuring out the different lines and how they work, and then how to attack the zone, how to attack the key.
And then also your physicality. And then I'd say lastly, a mental fortitude. You need to have the discipline to do things that you possibly don't want to do. The greatest have always said that on those days, that's where it counts the most.
He's owned it. He wants it. And I think he also respects that he knows we've made a lot of sacrifices moving here and getting him the training that he needed to have. I can't say it's been easy. There's a lot of cost when it comes to adaptive sports. Zion's chair is, $13,000. Zion hits hard and it's like he pops tubes like crazy, so it's just like cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
Because I've loved watching the Olympics all these years, I'm comforted by the stories of all the families and all the sacrifices that have been made for Olympians and Paralympians to make this possible. So 20 years from now, it's not going to matter how much we spent on wheel guards. What's going to matter is the experience that he has in this and the character that it's built in him.
It makes me absolutely ecstatic to be able to do this. It's an honor to be able to represent my country, my state, my family. For all people with disabilities, I absolutely want to represent them well. But also being 17 years old right now, one of the youngest within Paris during the Paralympics. And so it's also representing my age group.
The next youngest player is 32. That's a huge gap. And the crazy thing is that Clayton Brackett, who is 32, the next youngest on the US, he's actually his Lakeshore teammate. He was asked to go to the USA Olympic and Paralympic Media Summit. So it was funny when he was on the Today Show outside, they all had champagne and Zion's like, he's like, I didn't hold it.
Most of them, I could be there. And so, but it really doesn't compare to that for me. It's almost like having an older brother. It's given me a community of people and family that I didn't originally have, and it's been amazing.
And this is his thing, and it's not mom. It's not mom pushing him to do it anymore. And he truly has earned a spot on the 2024 team.
To see his dream come to fruition, especially at this age, it's a powerful thing, and it'll be amazing to see if they progress through, they get to the medal round, they win gold, what that what that podium is going to be like for him.
It's the top 8 teams in the world are not going there to go for silver as we've had for the last 2 Paralympics. We're absolutely gunning for that gold, and that gold would represent so much.